What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Today we're going to be taking a look at my second Acid Rain figure review. And in this review we're going to be taking a look at the Kelsey Combat Instructor figure. And as we always do, we take a brief look at all the packaging, and on the front of this you can actually see a really nice drawing of Kelsey with the troops in the background. On this side of the packaging it says Acid Rain and the faction logo. If we look at the other side, it says Kelsey Combat Instructor, and again there's the faction logo. If we look at the back of the box, there's an actual picture of the figure and all the accessories included, as well as some product information. Now flip it back around to the front, you get another good look at what the front of the box looks like. If you're a mint and box collector, go ahead and keep it in the box and show it off like this, but we're going to go ahead and open it up and see what's inside. Alright, I've taken everything out of the packaging and laid it on the bench here, and we're going to go over each one of these accessories individually. But overall, she comes with a rifle, a machete, a pistol, a helmeted head, a baseball cap, a sheath, and a knife. And also, this great looking foot locker, as well as the figure itself. Let's go over each one of these accessories up close and personal. We'll start with the foot locker here, or sarcophagus if you will. This is a nice hunter green with some great looking detail on it. Inside it has a foam padding, and this is actually what the figure came in. This just clicks shut in this fashion. One thing to note, if you look at the hinge side, this is just a plastic hinge, so if you open and close it too much, I'm afraid it's actually going to break. But it's a great piece for your diorama. Regarding her weapons, we'll start with her rifle first. You can see the clip is on the back of the stock. This is in a solid gray color plastic, a little bit of silver hue to it. On this side you can see some type of scope on the top rail. Great looking detail and futuristic looking. Next we'll take a look at her machete. This is also made in the same type of plastic. Really nice looking detail on the handle. Got a little serrated edge on top here and comes down to a nice sharp point. Let me grab the pistol next. And again, this has some really nice looking detail. Great looking handle on this. Some detail up on the actual top of the gun. Notice that there is a hole at the end of the muzzle. Great looking detail on this side. Put this back, and next we'll take a look at this tiny sheath right here. And this is actually for the machete. And notice right here there's a peg, and that's so you can remove something on her belt, because it is rather modular, and put this on there. We'll go over that later on in the video. Got a couple of pouches on the side here, and it's the same color of her belt. Let's grab the machete and I'll show you how this works. This just slides in here in this fashion, and now you can just hang this on her belt. So it's a nice option. Alright, we'll take a look at the non-removable knife. Now this thing is really tiny, and you'll notice there's a peg here, and that peg actually puts on either the right or left side of her shoulders. We'll show that shortly. Alright, we'll take a look at her baseball cap next, and as you can see on the front, it has the NAUS logo on it. Nice tan baseball cap with some really basic detail on it. You'll see the open back here, that's to support her ponytail, and this is pliable. I really like how they added the baseball cap. And lastly is her combat helmet. And this has a black face mask on it with some breather type vents on the bottom. You'll see it has some decent detail on the top and sides. And one thing to note, this is actually a replaceable head, not so much a helmet. You'd have to pop the head off the figure and pop this one on. And of course, the figure itself. I'll bring this in close so we can get a better look at her. Really fantastic sculpting on the face. You can definitely tell this is a female. Nice hairstyle. I really like how they sculpted this all in. A little bit of pink on her lips. She has a green tactical vest. Military belt right here with all these pouches on it, and you can just see the fantastic logo on her belt buckle. dark green pants with some black knee pads. She has a holster right here for her gun. Dark tan dirty boots. You flip it to the side, you can see some of the other pouches on her belt. And let me straighten up her arms. You see she has some black elbow pads, and her forearms are covered with these dark tan gauntlets, if you will, and military type gloves. Come around to the back side here. You see the rest of the pouches. There's a peg hole on her back in case she has a backpack. Again, on this side, a couple more pouches. And there's one thing I do want to tell you is some of these items are removable, like we spoke of earlier, and we'll get into that shortly. You can see there's a peg hole right there, and these just pop right off. And it looks like this double pouch right here is removable. If I flip it up, you can kind of see the peg and hole right there. And that hangs a little bit low over the holster. So all in all, the paint to sculpt on this figure is on point. Let's take advantage of the figure and all the accessories being in front of us right now, and I want to see how all this stuff actually attaches to the figure. And I think what we'll do is start with the belt first. Flip this back around, and behind this rather large pouch is actually a clip, and you just pull it apart. You see there's a peg and a hole. Get her to stand up on her own here, and we'll take a better look at this belt. Alright, now if I flip the belt around, now you get a really good look at all the pegs back here. So it looks like there's 3 items that can be removed. 1, 2, and 3 right there. And I really like how this is modular. So I think what we're going to do is remove the canteen first, because I want the machete on her right side. That just pops off. Let's grab the machete. Again, you take that peg, you just put it in that hole right there. Give it a push, and now it's hanging off her belt. And in order to reclasp the belt, again, you just line up that peg and that hole. Of course, you put it on the figure and you just give it a squeeze, and this is what the belt looks like with the machete on it. And I'll show you what that looks like on the figure in a little while. Next, let me actually grab Kelsey here. And if you notice down on her left thigh, this pouch here is actually a holster. It's rather large, and that's to accommodate her rather large pistol. This goes in there really nicely and nice and tight. It's not going to fall out. Let's look at her shoulders next. There's 2 rectangular ports right here, and that's for that non-removable knife, so you put it on either side. Now I will tell you, this thing is really tiny, and let me see if I can't get this into this side on camera. You really have to line it up, push it in place. It's on now, but one thing to note, it's not going to fall out on its own, but if you just barely touch it, it'll fall out. And God knows if that thing lands on the carpet, it's gone forever. So next, let's look at her head. If I turn it to the side, you can see the ponytail right here, and you can note that this is actually articulated, and it's just a ball joint. Take that off, and you take the actual baseball cap, and you have to actually line up the hole in the back of the baseball cap with the port for the ponytail. Push it on, just like this. You take the ponytail and you just pop it back in place. And this is what she looks like with a baseball cap on. Really nice looking, and it really changes up the look of the figure. And for the last accessory is her combat helmet. Now, one thing to note, guys, is if you look at the bottom hole of this thing, it's not perfectly round. So what I found is I actually had to heat this thing up with a blow dryer or even some boiling water for a while to make it a little bit more pliable, because it's rather rigid. And let's remove the head here from the neck peg. And there's the neck peg. And just very gently manipulate this onto the peg here until it pops, like that. And this is what she looks like with the combat helmet on. Again, changes up the complete look of the figure, and as you can see, it is still rather articulated. And now she looks like she's ready for combat. So I just wanted to take a moment and go over all these items, get her to stand up, and show you exactly how they work on the figure. on to the articulation portion of the video, and one thing I want to do before we get into that is I actually physically want to remove her pistol. Get that out of the way, and here you can see I actually put the belt on with the machete, so you can get a good look at that. And with the machete on, it's going to hinder some of the articulation, so let's take the entire belt off again. Right here, you just pull that apart. Get this over here, and now we're coming down to the body armor. And I know that these are removable. What you have to do is heat up the arms and pop those out, as well as the head, and somehow manipulate it over the torso. I'm not going to try it on video just because it's a pain in the butt to get these things back on, and what I wanted to show you is it does have a point right there which is articulated in the diaphragm. But let's go ahead and start with the head. Move left and right. And because the ponytail is articulated, she can look up this far and tuck her chin in this well. Looking at that ponytail, it just rolls around and getting her into some pretty expressive poses just with her hair alone. Coming down to her shoulders, she has some fantastic butterfly joints. And I'll show you how these just roll backwards and forwards. And again, that's for both her shoulders. So they go back really far. And they roll forward really well. And that's going to come in real handy when she's holding her weapons or doing other type of poses. She can only T-pose about this high, and that's just due to the molding of her shirt. All you have to do is rotate the arm around, of course. And those rotate. That butterfly joint here, you can get her to reach all the way around to her back, like this. Now this is one point of articulation I wish all 1/18 scale figures came with nowadays. Let's come down to her elbows. Of course, these bend in way beyond 90 degrees, like this, and with those butterfly joints, she can actually reach around back and fix her hair if she needs to. These rotate around 360 degrees. Come down to the wrists next. These rotate all the way around. Now this particular wrist, there's a hinge point that makes it go up and down. So really tight. And up about that far. Now when we look at her right hand, you'll notice that the joint goes in the opposite direction. So this rotates around and she can get her hand down about this far, but just due to the molding, she can only pivot up about this far. So about 90 degrees. Now, like I said earlier, if you're brave enough to remove her body armor, you'll notice that there is a diaphragm joint underneath there. She has a ball joint at the waist, so she can rotate back and forth really well. No problem at all. Let's get her arms down and she can lean back about this far and look up. And with that body armor on, she can look down about this far. Going down to her lower body, you can see on her legs here, it's on a T-joint, so it rocks back and forth. She can do the splits pretty well. She also has a cut right here in the thigh, which rotates back and forth. She can move her leg back about this far. And of course, she can Spartan kick forward this far.
This is Sparta!
She also comes with a double knee joint. You flip this back around, and one thing to note, this is ratcheted. So it clicks into place. And she'll hold this position with no problem at all. Let's come down to the ankles. Now the boot is on a rocker, so this goes back and forth, and you can see the peg hole there in case you want to put her on a stand. Point her toe up and point her toe down. Again, really great range of motion on these acid rain figures. You shouldn't have any problem getting them into any type of dynamic posing. And just a bit of caution, no matter what figure you have, you should absolutely warm the figures up a little bit before you start moving them around. Especially these 1/18 scale figures. You don't want these things breaking on you. They're rather expensive. It's one thing that a figure comes with weapons, but let's see if she can actually hold what she has. Here she's holding onto her pistol and she's supporting it with no problem at all. Of course, those butterfly joints are a huge help. So she can aim this gun down sight and take down the enemy. Here she is, holding on to her machete. Not going to drop it at all. Holding on to this nice and tightly. And looking really efficient. So, we're 2 for 2. And for her last weapon is her rifle. You can see she's looking down that sight with zero problem at all. That other hand is supporting the front of the gun, tucked into her shoulder, and again, with these butterfly joints, this gives you the option to rock it back and forth and really fine-tune it if you need to. So it's really important to me that any figure that comes with some type of weaponry should at least be able to hold them efficiently. So it looks like we're 3 for 3 with all the weapons. And before we wrap up this video with comparisons, there's one thing I did want to show you folks that I actually missed, and I apologize. It comes to the articulation on her ankles. She actually does have a boot cut, and as you can see, it goes back and forth. And that's really useful when you're trying to get her to stand up on her own. Alright, let's get on to the comparisons. I'm going to bring in the Tamara figure I just did a review on, and feel free to check out that video. I do want to show you folks that these head sculpts are absolutely identical, with of course the hair color being different. Get these ladies to stand up. The first figure I'll bring in is a G.I. Joe figure, and here's Dana from the October Guard, convention exclusive. Alright, let's see, next I'll grab a Marvel Universe Black Widow figure. Let me grab a Joy Toy figure from the maintenance crew. Let's bring in a Boss Fight Studios custom Gladiator female I worked on. And last, and certainly not least, let's bring in Pegasus from my Ronin company. And she's on the Marauders Task Force Valkyrie body. And now you can see how these Joy Toy figures, Acid Rain figures, Marvel Universe figures, and etc. all line up with each other. They work out really well together. Can I honestly tell you that this figure's worth picking up? Well, I guess you'd have to decide for yourself. Me personally, I'm not disappointed. And now that I have at least 2 Acid Rain figures in my collection, I gotta tell you, the paint's been on point. That extra articulation point with the butterflies comes in real handy when you're trying to pose them up. And holding on to the weapons and accessories hasn't been a problem at all. If there's one gripe I have, it's those helmeted heads. They're really rigid and those holes aren't perfectly round, so it was a chore to finally get those things heated up and fitting on each one of these figures perfectly. Well, this is going to conclude my review of the Acid Rain Kelsey Combat Instructor figure. As always, guys, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you like what you see, join the community. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button for future notifications of upcoming videos. And of course, most importantly, help a fellow collector out and share your knowledge.